Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're located. And I knew when I first entered the room, and I knew I would be up second to speak. And for those that are on Zoom, you didn't actually. Ruby did a fantastic keynote. You didn't actually see the entry though. And I'm sitting in the front, and I'm like, wow, why is Ruby in the back? And she was announced. She was very elegant. She walked up, and I'm like, doggone, I missed my opportunity. I could have also did a walk up there, but it was just fantastic. But like I'm still learning from Ruby every single day. As Vikas shared with you, my name is Cornelius Tate, and the way I come to you today is 28 years Secret Service, and I've been in the private sector, in the banking area, financial sphere for about 9 years. I started Sallie Mae Bank, small startup bank, and the last 5.5 years have been at Bank of America. What I would like to do is just take a moment, realizing we're all, in the security field, and do have a love for this nation here, to just commemorate that today is the 22nd anniversary of 9/11, and that's just a horrendous day, the worst day in this country has experienced on the home territory since as far as an impact since Pearl Harbor, December 7th. But I did want to take that to just acknowledge that and those sacrifices that have been made, at that day, and that continue to actually be made. And, in speaking to, a group of people on the Zoom call, the people here in this audience, that are security minded, all right? And it's just, it really is ironic that we're having this discussion today, but it really does tie into, the fact of what keeps you awake at night. And I won't speak for you, but I will. And I will, say that it's really the true safety and security of not just the facilities, but the most important thing is the people. It's the people, the employees, the customers, because that is the one thing that is irreplaceable. And you look at every single day in the news, active shooters, got the lone gunman, you have workplace violence. There's just so many things that do enter into this equation. And whether you're looking at physical or cyber security, doesn't really matter, right? It all starts at the ground level. And that ground level is access control. It's access control on the physical side, it's access control on the network side. And I always, I may be a physical security imposter, even though I do have 20 years in Secret Service, but I've lived in both worlds. Most of my background is in the IT field. And, I tell people, I said, those computers, it's so confusing. It's really not. It's just simple. If you know physical, you do know cyber. And if you know cyber, you do know physical, because it's some of the same problems, just on a different landscape. So it all starts with access control in both worlds. Physical security, it starts with access control. If you are not able to control or understand or know and restrict access to your facilities on a physical perspective, not only the facilities, but those rooms, those compartments within those buildings, you have a problem. You really don't have security. You're not able to manage risk. Security is about managing risk and reducing risk. And the same is true on the cyber side. Our cyber counterparts, their first rule is, how do I restrict access to my network to just those people that do need to have access? And they go a step further, just like in the physical side. They restrict access to different applications, to different data sets. It balances out both physical and cyber. Today, obviously, we are going to, in addition to that convergence, I do want to share with you just, some of the things that we have experienced in just the last year. We actually did deploy the Guardian, Alert Enterprise Guardian product. So this next slide really does paint the picture of just scale. It's all about scale. And we have as you can see, a pretty good size footprint at the bank. Within our administrative offices, we have approximately 170,000 employees. We have about another 38,000 that work within financial centers. But for this conversation, the focus will be on those administrative locations, which is about 1,200 of those, in which we have about 170,000 employees in those locations. You combine that with approximately 16,000 ATMs and 3,800 financial centers. So you got a good picture for some pretty good chaos if it's not managed properly. 35 countries, huge consumer base. One of the numbers that really hopefully does jump out at you when you get an idea of that scale is that we have approximately 21,000 card readers. And you look at those 170,000 there are about employees, we will manage on any given day, a work day, Monday through Friday, up to 1 million badge swipes. A lot of data, and we will on average get 150 access requests per hour. And what those really amount to, those access requests, is a lot of movement amongst those employees with those different admin buildings. And this whole conversation really deals with compliance and audits, but that really ties in very deep in when we get to that compliance part, because we have access control representatives. We have about 8,000 of them that on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis, are managing access. They're getting requests that today I'm very pleased to report are being tremendously well managed through the Alert Enterprise Guardian product. It's very automated. And it's really important for us as we, look to any company, Bank of America, we're no different. Every company, you're looking to be more efficient. We call it operational excellence, OpEx, but really trying to, how can you really maximize the work that your folks do, and not a matter of displacing people, but moving people to other areas that you may need to shore up. And this is our access control rep program. It's one of those areas where since we brought in Alert, our staffing has dropped. It's been reduced, and that all ties into a fantastic ROI. And those folks that, some have, left just through attrition, others have moved to other assignments, but it really does speak volume because we're not reducing activity. It just seems, if you look at our security operations center, the number of alarms that come in there, the work continues to ramp up. But it becomes very transparent if you have the right application, you have the right system in place that makes it really transparent. And that is one of those things that, from a timing perspective, it could not have come at a better time. If it came in right on the heels as we were down, getting out of the COVID pandemic to this right here, and just really trying to manage. We have employees working from home, employees working at home. We're still, onboarding people, offboarding people. So to manage that chaos, I will tell you that our world has truly improved in that regard. Okay, here. So when you look at the key benefits that we have experienced here is obviously when we talk about the automation of the regulatory and the compliance piece, that ties into every quarter, and I think all of us are the same. I experienced this in the Secret Service, Sallie Mae, as well as the bank. There is a regulatory requirement that every quarter you have to go through an audit of exactly who is in your facilities, or if they have the rights, the access that they should have, or if they do not have. And in the past, for us, that was a real challenge. The number I gave you earlier of 8,000 ACRs, that's a big number. And I also shared with you that we have reduced our staffing within that program. And we do it today after this deployment, the Guardian deployment. We do it most of the times. I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know it's happening. But before that deployment, I knew it was happening. I knew it because I was getting blown up by my own folks. Like, hey, boss, this right, we have to make all these phone calls. This is stressful. Had our folks were working overtime. And the reason why was because the previous state, we actually had to identify those ACRs that had not fulfilled their audit. And it's almost like, eating your vegetables, right? you don't want to eat them. So you save those till last. But people would wait till the very end, and our folks were having to pick the phone up and call them or send them emails. And, it was all a manual process, and it was painful. I think the typical number was 20% were really, really good at getting it done the first several days, but that still left 80%. And we're talking 8,000 ACRs, and it wasn't, and we have a global, over 35 countries. So we have a PIAM, Physical Identity Access Management System. We have it obviously in the United States. We have it in EMEA out of our Camberley, UK location. We have Singapore, India, and APAC. So we have, 5 locations that are actually triaging and really trying to get these things done on a quarterly basis. And it's just painful. It's just painful. It was not automated to the point that it needed to be automated. And this is an important metric. It's an important metric because we only have in physical security, we have that one metric that gets reported to the board every quarter. And this is it. And we have to hit 99.5%. So of the 8,000 ACRs, our breaking point is about 26. So if 26 do not do that audit, we'll fall about 99.4%, which there is no yellow. You're either green or you're red. And unfortunately, we had an instance where we went red. It was about 6 months before we actually deployed the Guardian product, and it was a lot of confusion. But don't forget, everything was manual. And when you have, you're out on COVID, and you got employees that are half back, half not back, things fall through the cracks, and we barely missed it. We came in at 99.4%. But move forward, September 15th of last year. Where we are today, we've gone through multiple audits. We even went through a full-blown security audit where the auditors came in and did an audit right in the middle, right after we deployed this product. So, you're trying to levelize and really get the ACRs used to the system. And we did very well in that audit, even though it was a lot of extra work. We had to change a lot of the language and all of 86 playbooks to reflect that old system and now the new alert enterprise system. So a lot of work, but we really went through really well. We went through really well because it didn't have that overhead, the overhead that's connected and associated with just the manual processes. So I definitely am pleased and happy to speak to you guys, just because I feel that if you have a product that is fantastic, a team that is fantastic, that you do need to recognize those folks and those efforts. And as we work through the transition to really bring this product to full circle, I won't say that there were not some minor things. That's going to be in anything. If you get a new car, the mirror may be off, or things like that. But the unique thing that I really saw, and I do want to call out Ruby and Vikas and Navjot, and I think Navjot practically lived at Bank of America for 2-3 straight weeks. But it was just a commitment. Ruby, guys, I do appreciate that. I had not in 28 plus 9 years, 37 years, had not seen that level of commitment at the upper levels of a company. And I think that's really, truly important. And, I'm definitely a friend and for life, and definitely impressed with the team's commitment. Let's see here. Okay, I'm not able to. It's okay, I'm good. So what we'll do, I do want to also just speak to some more of the qualities and some more of the things that really do make me excited. I'm really pleased with when you look at the alert product. Some of the things that, for instance, that we're able to do, we're able to really onboard our employees a lot quicker. And the way we do that is, in the past, once again, it was manual. Everything was manual. The manager of the new employee would have to go into the system, put the new employee's information in there with their personal email, because don't forget, they're not in the office, they don't have a Bank of America address, their personal email, and with their home address. And we would, at that time, print out a card, put it in, think it's FedEx, and would mail it to that employee's house. Once they got it, then the manager would go into the system and activate their badge prior to day one. What we're able to do now is, using the Guardian product, is something known as birthright access, where we're actually, based on where that employee is being hired, there is just some very basic access that is, if they're working in that branch, that division, that's going to be some very basic access provision that needs to be done. That includes the site location as well as the respective departments that they're working in, which typically will amount to different floors and in some cases, some particular rooms. But that gets that employee into the workspace. It gets them into the office. It gets them up. It's seamless. It's smooth. And then from there, the manager is able to put in requests within the Guardian system. And what that does is, one of those 8,000 ACRs gets that request, and that's all done by the system in terms of pinging that ACR on a repetitive basis until they actually do approve it. But in the past, that was something that we, in our access control program within PIAM, that we had to govern, we had to manage. Another great thing that I'm really impressive as we look at some of the things that we're going to go to, and hopefully in the very near term, is that the team is doing a lot of work with AI, with like ChatGPT, Claude, Bing, all of the AI things. Think of a world though and one of the big things is reporting. Reporting has always been big. Reporting was big. The White House access control, that was big. You got a lot of FOIA requests for reports. You got a lot of congressional requests for reports. Sally Mae, a lot of reporting, typically coming from the auditors or the internal compliance. Everybody wants reports. The board, they want reports. And if you're not able to generate those reports, and if you generate the reports and they're not accurate, and they call you on it, and at that point, it's a mushroom cloud, because now you lose some degree of credibility, and it's probably rightfully so, because we really should know who is in our facilities, who is not, and all of that. So one of the things that the team is looking at is this. Hey, the ChatGPT. Imagine it's almost like Star Trek, where you can say, "Hey, Guardian, provide me a report on every employee that entered this particular work location on this day." Boom, your report is generated. Today, it takes a wizard to really generate those things. But that is a product that is on that roadmap. And, it's been on the roadmap, and, I have no doubt that will come to fruition. It's just, another one of those advantages is that you say, "Hey guys, can we get this?" And they start working on it. They run it through the testing, and it really does amount to a very quick delivery, to market or to the customer. Then it gets, built into the overall product. So, and that's just, and another thing we're looking at the bank is the mobile credential. I'm actually a little bit north of town here in a DoubleTree, and everything is automated, right? And, I authenticate on my cell device using my thumbprint, which is a biometric, something that I am. And, I can assign my room key, and as I'm walking around that hotel, it knows where I'm at. If I go to the elevator, it pops up on my screen. I activate to it. And that's something that we're at the bank that we're looking to do. I mean, it makes so much sense on so many different levels, from an ESG, environmental, societal governance perspective. It's very green. For us, you can only imagine what a rebadging effort looks like. We're talking 170,000 at least brand new badges that we're printing with ink. But one of the things, even though we're printing with ink, just popped up in my head here, it's another thing that we do have with Guardian, which will help, is bulk printing. So that was something we didn't have in the past. So we're actually doing a rebadging now. And we hope, though, before we finish the rebadging, that we will move to mobile credentialing. What we're doing right now is going from just a standard physical access badge. We've teamed up with the cyber group team at the bank, and we've actually put a PIV chip on our card right here. So we're going to make it so that it will also, not only you can use it to physically enter the building and the different rooms, but also You can insert it into the card reader in the laptop or USB dongle reader, and actually use that to assist you in authenticating and getting onto the computer network. We're hoping, we've started that printing process, which is brutal. I mean, we're talking purchasing cards, which costs money, ink, which costs money, people, even though we have the bulk printing, still printing, putting those cards in envelopes and mailing them overnight. So it gets pretty costly, and it takes time. It takes a while. We're not using big mega $1 million printers, so it does come at some degree of time to get those put out. But with this mobile credential, think about this, man, 170,000 employees, if we had that, we could push that out to the devices. We could do that in minutes, right? We could do it in minutes. And look at the impact on the world, right? We just saved a lot of gas. We saved a lot of ink. We're more secure, because if you go to the mobile device, depends on how you use it, you got the gold standard. You got 3-factor authentication. That authentication is something you know, something you have, something you are. So between the biometric, a PIN code, and having physical possession of that device itself, you're about as secure in today's terms as possible. But like I said, I do want to be cognizant, aware of time, because I'm not sure if we're taking questions or if that's going to be at the panel or anything like that. But I did want to just take some time to share with you guys just the experience that we've had here. And it's been a pretty new deployment. It's been over a year, but it's been enough time now where I'm actually able to look holistically and really just try to paint that picture. And like I said, it's just it's a real important, it's the core of security. It's the access control, and I've seen quite a few of them. Know what works good, what doesn't work good, what I would like to see, and this is about as close to where I would like to be as in this a lot of gray hair time frame here.
Can you talk a little more about how you've sold this sort of internally with the ROI, tying into ESG? I mean, so often sort of corporate security and access control, being part of that is seen as just a cost, right? So now here you're deploying another feature, a technology, but you talked about reducing, potentially man hours. How did you talk about this as far as a ROI and how much it will add value, not only risk, but reducing costs, reducing effort, making your operations more efficient? How'd you sell that story?
Yeah, hey, Raj, great. Roger, thanks. Great question. And it's not often that I get a question, but in the question, the answer is also given. So I appreciate you kind of answered it for me. But yeah, it's really, when you look at, it kind of starts with the way I started speaking to this. It really does. Some things are just non-negotiable, and it really does tie into the core. If you do not manage access control, either on the cyber or the physical side, speak of convergence, you don't really have a security program, because you lack that foundation from day one. We're also assisted, certain industries, we're assisted within the financial sector by regulations. Regulations are in effect. And when the regulators come in, that is, part of that compliance, regulatory aspect. So it really does become one of those non-negotiable things when you talk about access control. And it also, it really ties into, normally when you hear the term duty of care, that a lot of times will tie in, people think of from an individual perspective, but even if it's a city, right? A city and there's sidewalks that are buckled and they present a tripping hazard for the citizens, then that's called duty of care, because you're in a way you're being negligent. You're not exercising with competence and doing just those bare basic core things, those core elements. So as we look at this access control guardian, and the beauty of that, all those things are named in the You mentioned ESG in terms of your question, but it's the right thing to do from a global perspective. But aside from that, it's actually saved us money. It saved us money. I mean, so you can look at any number of things, and if that bottom line determinator is, hey, how can I save money? It's doing it. It's the gift that will keep giving, because every year it will continue to expand, and that's part of the business case. Part of the business case, all those things that have been laid out there. But as you look at the chart, it just every year from a FTE that are committed to actually make and perform that work so that you can, at a minimum level, at a basic level, be able to say with a definite level of confidence, a high level of confidence that, hey, I know who has entered my facility. Or, because if you can't say that, it's some real problems, right? It's real problems because you have people that may be upset with your organization that are able to get into your space. And that's not good, because you see it every day. Even with employees, it's a challenge that when you have, shooting events or workplace violence types of events. So great question, but it's just pretty much like it covers all those bases, Raju, in terms of the RI value. It's proven. The ESG value, we're moving. It's on the roadmap. We're moving there. We're going to go to mobile credentialing. The duty of care, that's covered. The regulatory, the compliance piece, that's covered. So it's just it's a full house. But yeah, great question. Thanks.
Thanks, CT. It seems like also you're able to leverage data in a new way that you can now present to the C-suite in a way that's meaningful and aligns with their business objectives. And we haven't always been able to do that in physical security, is actually use data in a powerful way as part of our business strategy. So Jasveer, you have a question?
Yes. No, first, thank you, Citi, first of all, for presenting. I think one of the things I really admire about you as a customer, being very so forward-looking, when some incident happened like workplace violence, for you to be proactively looking at how to collaborate with HR to see a potential risk flag to mitigate potential violence, like the incidents that happened in Louisville, Kentucky, terminated employee came back next day, killed 5 of his colleagues. How to mitigate those? So I think you're leading that whole space, collaboration between HR and security, and for others to follow. So thank you for all the guiding us for those things, how to have real-time integration. So thank you.
Oh, very good. Yeah, thanks, Jasveer. And the thing about that, just to add a little bit more, you're spot on. When you start, most organizations, a lot of that data, that sensitive data, that from a security perspective, that we really do need to have visibility of in order to be able to take appropriate security, preparedness, and risk reduction measures, is closely guarded by HR. But that ties into what Jasveer was saying, the importance of establishing those relationships. And part of, I think, what can lend a degree of comfort and reassurance to, parts, divisions that have sensitive information, say HR, is that, it's one thing for a human to have access to all data that people feel they shouldn't have access to, but it's a different thing when you take the technology, and the technology becomes that filter. It becomes that filter that can look at HR data. The system's not going to, it does what you basically tell it to do. It's not going to just give access to information it should not, but maybe a certain trigger amount level is met, and the employee has committed a certain transgression, say X number of times, 6 times. And at that time, the system, Alert Enterprise, could kick that out over for security to have visibility and to be able to view that. Another thing that we're looking at, and it kind of spurred my thought here, was we're doing a lot of work within the bank to really look at the data. All the data that came up we have a lot of data. How can we really make that actionable? Data is there, and I'll give you an example. I can tell you with a high degree of confidence today's Monday, September the 11th. I can tell you who, if you ask I can get on the system. And I can tell you how many people, have swiped into, say, the building here in Dallas, or swiped into, the corporate or the Sherrill building in Charlotte. I can give you that with a high degree of confidence. But if you ask me who logged onto the network, I'm blind. I can't tell you. That data exists. This data, physical data exists. Cyber data exists. But separately, in of themselves, they look totally normal. Potentially, if someone logs into the network in Phoenix, Arizona, looks like a normal authentication took place, looks fine. If someone swipes on a card reader in Chicago, Illinois, looks totally normal. But if you compare those two data fields that involves that same employee who's assigned to that card, and that MBK, that person that you have that MBK marry up to that card number that swiped in, here in Dallas, now it looks totally, now you have something. Two situations look totally normal, but when you compare that data, which already exists, now it causes reason for concern to actually interrogate and to look at that data on a much deeper level. So that's, but Josh, you brought about the HR, but these partnerships between HR, physical security, the cyber side of the house, those are the things that really do become those force multipliers, where we really do need to do more of that. A lot of it is, just really kind of breaking down those silos and really creating strong programs, insider threat programs, or convergence programs where you look at the monies and the capabilities that already exist on the physical side, and it already exists on the cyber side. Where can that partnership, where can that take place? How can we maximize incident response, for instance? There are certain things that, even though it's a cyber event, that on the physical side, I guarantee you, when you go through the life cycle of a cyber incident response, that physical security can play a role, can play a part that does provide value, and conversely on the other side as well. But Josh, very great point. Thank you.
Any other questions? Online, I don't see. Do you have any on the chat at all? No, we're good.
Okay,
all right.
Okay, great.
Thanks, ET. It's another round of applause.
All right, guys. Thank you.